Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Houston Sports Talk back into the video today, and today we're going to be talking about the Philadelphia 76ers potentially trading for Lauri Markkanen. Earlier today, there was a report on NBA Central about the Philadelphia 76ers potentially being interested in trading for Lauri Markkanen or Kevin Durant. There's been a rumor going around that 76ers could be looking to package up Paul George and the third overall pick to land either Lauri Markkanen from the Utah Jazz or Kevin Durant from the Phoenix Suns. Today we're going to be talking about Lauri Markkanen potentially going to the Utah Jazz and what I think that deal potentially looks like. Let's get into it. The Philadelphia 76ers would receive Lauri Markkanen in the 21st overall pick. That is, the Utah Jazz pick from Minnesota, thanks to the Rudy Gobert trade. And the Jazz would receive Paul George, the third overall pick, and the 35th overall pick. If you're wondering why the 21st overall pick goes to Philadelphia in the trade, because Philly cannot, in this trade, Philly would need to get a first-round pick back by trading the third overall pick due to the rule of not trade. You have to have a draft pick. You can't get rid of draft picks in consecutive drafts, because next year's Philly's pick in 2026 they do not own. By getting rid of the third overall pick and getting the 21st overall pick, you don't have that problem of not having a first round pick, and it being back-to-back drafts where you do not have a first round pick due to the rule of not being able to have back-to-back drafts of not having your first round pick. So by getting the 21st overall pick with Lauri Markkanen, Paul George and number 3, and pick 35, which is a late second round pick, would go to the Utah Jazz in the trade. I think the interesting thing would be, I really like Paul George, but how is he a part of the Utah Jazz future? Like, he has a terrible contract. This Utah Jazz team, you look at them and they're probably a tanking team. How does a 9-time All-Star, 6-time All-NBA player and Paul George fit into a team like that? Who's a veteran? He's also a veteran player who is, he's 35 years old, just turned 35 years old, and at this point, this is a Utah Jazz team that is very young, and how does he fit in with a very young team? I know Paul George this year, I brought up him being an all-star. I know, he this year wasn't as good as he was in years prior, averaging 16.2 points per game. It was one of his worst seasons going back to 2014-15 season. And in 41 games, 41 starts, shot 43% from the floor, 36% from three. You put Paul George on the Utah Jazz, he's going to be so much better than he was last season. I think he can get back to the 20-point per game type of guy if you put him in the Utah Jazz. But the big question would be, do the Utah Jazz keep Paul George? I think more likely Utah would most likely buy out Paul George, and then Paul George could potentially sign somewhere else. In that case, what you'd be doing is just trading away Lauri Markkanen pick 21 for pick number 3 and 35. And is that worth it? And I guess you clear a bunch of money out as well. But taking on a Paul George contract, you would have 2 top 5 picks then, because you'd have pick 3 and pick 5. That's something you could think about. You would have the opportunity to bring in 2 top 5 prospects, and so I don't know. I think it'd be an interesting trade to think about for the Utah Jazz, but I don't know if you do it just because taking on that Paul George contract, it brings on more trouble. And then you have the decision of getting rid of it. Does he stay on the team and be a mentor to the young guys? I don't know what would happen after this trade for Utah. For Philadelphia, I think it'd be great to add in Lauri Markkanen next to Joel Embiid in the front court, and also if potentially Joel Embiid's not going to stay healthy, which that's a great chance that's not going to happen. Tyrese Maxey has a guy next to him who is a good scorer, good shooter, a guy that proved himself to be an all-star a couple years ago with his play with the Utah Jazz, some of the good things he did with Utah. Utah a couple of seasons ago in the 2022-23 season, he was an all-star. He averaged 26 points per game, 9 rebounds per game, winning the Most Improved Player of the Year award. Even was great the next season after that in 2023-24 season, averaged 23 points per game. This past year, Lauri Markkanen wasn't as good, averaged only 19 points per game, but a lot of what you look at it, a lot of people don't realize is how much his minutes per game dropped compared to the 2 years prior. He averaged 34.5 minutes per game in the 2022-23 season when he was an all-star, averaged over 33 minutes per game in 2023-24 season. This year only averaged 31 minutes per game. So I think that also affected him. But you can also look at it, and his field goal percentage went down, shot 50% from the floor in his all-star season, 48% in the 2023-24 season. This year it was 42%. And the three-point percentage went down. But still, over the last 4 seasons before this season, Lauri Markkanen still shot really well from three, 40% in the 2023-24 season, 39% in the 2022-23 season on 7.7 attempts, 36% in the 21-22 season with Cleveland, and 40% in the 2020-21 season with Chicago. So I think he would be a good addition for the 76ers team. But I think if there's a question of does Philly do it, I think they probably would, possibly would, because you get rid of the Paul George contract and you get a great player in Lauri Markkanen. But does Utah do it is the bigger question to me. Let me know your thoughts on the potential trade in the comment section, and peace out.